You've been busy, Dave.
Huh?
You've been busy, man.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't an engine here before.
No. I have been so busy that I haven't had time to actually finish this project. I want to go to the racetrack this afternoon or this evening, and this is the second to the last Friday that will be available at Wisconsin International Raceway for racing. So I haven't got the nitrous kit hooked up yet, but I wanted to go in tonight and make a couple of motor passes and see exactly where it was at. It's kind of hot. I just timed it, timed the engine a little bit. I still have to, as you can see, the wiring for the nitrous solenoids are not wired in yet. And the reason they're not is because I'm going to build a circuit that will not allow the nitrous solenoids to come on unless there's fuel pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a fuel pressure switch on the fuel line, and then that switch will have to be closed before the nitrous solenoid will activate. This way you can't make the mistake of turning the nitrous on and running it into the motor without fuel pressure being available at the other solenoid.
Because of that bad
manifold. Because if you run nitrous into the motor with no fuel, what happens is the motor runs so lean, it gets so hot, the piston rings expand, and when the piston rings expand, they grab the side of the cylinder wall, and then when the piston comes down, it lifts the top of the piston off the top of the piston. And then, of course, when it next comes out, it beats all the pieces, and they go through the intake, and they get in all the other cylinders, and it destroys the motor. So it's very critical that anytime you run nitrous, you have an adequate amount of fuel. And it's not because it's a horsepower, it's because you don't want to destroy your motor. You got to remember that nitrous oxide is an oxygenation agent. It's creating more oxygen than was present. In other words, it's like an AC system where when you cool something down when it's in a liquid form and then turn it back to a gas state, there's a lot more things that have happened because you've done different things under different conditions. The same thing applies to nitrous oxide. When you're sending nitrous oxide into the engine, and what it's doing is it's creating a reality where the motor doesn't know that it just sucked in twice as much air fuel ratio as it normally would have been able to naturally. So that's why nitrous is so power enhancing, because it actually makes your motor believe it's bigger than it is. You add fuel along with that nitrous oxide to create more power. Now this is going to be 150 shot. That's just the max that I want to go on this particular engine. Two reasons. First of all, it's a 383 stroker motor, and because it's a stroker motor in a Gen 1, your RPM is limited as opposed to if you had a smaller displacement engine with a shorter stroke crank. The shorter stroke crank will allow the motor to spin higher RPMs. If you want...
What are you tapping out right now?
Right now I've got that tach, I think, set at 6,200.
Okay.
That's a pretty safe number for a 383 stroker motor. If you want to step away here, I'll fire this bad boy up for you once real quick.
All right. Alright. What's your start procedure, Dave?
The start procedure
Let me get the other side real quick.
Okay, the start procedure on the car is to make sure you're at 10 degrees here on this little timing control. This little timing control here allows me to retard the timing or advance the timing depending upon the fuel that's available to me, the amount of nitrous that I'm going to hit, because anytime you hit nitrous in a motor, the normal ignition timing sequence is 2 degrees for every 50 horsepower that you're putting into the motor. So when you run 150 shot, that's 6 degrees of timing that you want to pull. So if I'm going to do a motor hit, I'll leave the timing alone at 10 degrees here. If I'm going to do a nitrous hit, then I can take this and I can back 6 degrees down. And if I only want to back 5 down because I want it to hit a little bit hotter, I can do that. Or if I want to hit a little bit lower, I can back it down to 5 degrees. I can actually almost time the car if I can get the car to go exactly the same every time. And that's how I would change it. If I want to limit, like, say if I get into an 1120 index race, which means that you can't go faster than 1120. Well, if the car does 1118s every pass, you've got to find a way to get rid of that 0.2 of a second or the 2,000ths that it's going too fast. And that would be one of the ways that you could do it, by retarding the timing a little bit, or changing the fuel up or whatever. But the sequence of events here would be.
Okay. Can I roll this down any further or what?
Yeah, sure.
All right, good.
Yeah, it's just a street car, man.
That's good.
So all of this BS is, nothing's bolted down yet because I'm not quite done. I'm considering wiring up this gizmo here for, I want to be able to put my speedometer. I don't want to chop the cable, the connector off of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put one of those in so I can not only use my speedometer in my GPS, but I can also use it to charge my phone or something else of that nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I want to run a computer in the car, I've got a place to access for the computer.
Okay.
So anyway, a sequence of events: headlights, running lights, and when you turn the headlights on, there's a dimmer switch over here for high and low beams.
Okay.
Dimmer switch. This one here is the wipers. This switch right here is the fuel pump. So my first sequence of event is to turn that one on. And then these two, accessory 1 and 2, is the spark and the ignition box. That's the cooling fan and the electric water pump. Give her a couple of squirts.
Oh, yeah.
The motor has a gear drive. It has a Peak Jackson
Oh, instead
gear.
of a chain, it's got gear?
Yeah, it's got a gear drive in it.
Really? I'm going back and get the exhaust zone. Where is it? Pretty wide slicks back here. Sounds good, Dave. Real good.
See my fuel pressure gauge up on the dash when I turn it on?
Yeah.
6 psi, baby.
Where do you want it at?
6 psi.
Oh, yeah? Wow. That's cool. Didn't sound like this before, man.
No, it didn't.
Oh, you got, what are you running for front end here?
I am running tubular control arms. The lower control arms have a 3-inch drop. The springs have a 2-inch drop. Upper control arms are tubular as well. I'm running basic 50-50 shocks, gas shocks in the front. I'm running some 50-50 shocks in the back. I'm running an adjustable
Brake proportioner?
proportioning valve for the rear brakes because I'm going to be changing the tires from the slicks that are on here right now to street tires so I can drive it on the street because this is classed as a street car, and the rules state you got to have turn signals, headlights, four-way flashers, license plates, seat belts, you know, all the stuff that a car would have.
Radio?
There's going to be a radio in it. It's got a GPS going to have built right into the console as used as a speedometer as well, so I don't have to worry about when I change the tire diameter, worrying about whether or not the speedometer is accurate. That's the nice thing about using a GPS with the speedometer.
Yeah. Hey, show us the tires, man.
Oh.
Talk about these tires.
Okay,
These
well-
are pretty skinny.
Yeah, these are street tires. Actually, these are Volkswagen. If you remember the old Volkswagen Beetle, they were 750 15s, and that's what these are. These are street tires. I have race tires for the track, but this particular vehicle is going to be used more on the street probably than the track. It's a street strip kind of deal, you know.
Let me get back in focus.
It's
here.
made for
Oh, yeah, good.
it's made for 8th mile. No prep racing.
Go back to the rear tires. See those?
The rear tires are some 1028 and a half 1050s. That's the maximum tire size that you can use in this class of racing. You can't use a bigger tire. If you use a bigger tire, it's considered a big tire car. I have another car, the white ton of bricks, and that's got big tires on it. That's got 32 and a half by 14 and a half by 15s on it. And these are 28 and a half by 10 by 15s.
So they call that a big tire car. So what's this called again?
This is a 10.5, 28.5, 15. That's the
A
maximum
small
size.
tire car? Is that the
Small
call?
tire. This is the biggest tire you can have on a small tire. Sometimes you'll see a car with a 15W
Yeah.
that W will take this and throw it away as a big tire because the W means it's wide.
Oh, all right.
So you don't. That doesn't qualify as a. In fact, I can show you what a W tire looks like. I'll show you a 31, 11, 15W, and you'll see how much bigger it is than this tire. Here, come here.
Yeah, so this thing is pretty big, man,
That's
already.
not big at all.
That's not big at all?
No, here.
Oh, okay. Right here it looks pretty darn big.
Here, come here.
All right, where?
That's a big tire.
Oh, that's a big tire.
That's a big tire.
That's a big tire.
That is a Doug Coletta autographed from a Top Fuel dragster. That is a 36. That's a 36 by 17 and a half by 16.
Who's Doug Coletta?
Doug Coletta is the nephew of legendary drag racer Connie Coletta. Connie Coletta's brother, his son, is Doug Coletta. Now, Connie Coletta's son, Scott, was killed in a tragic drag racing crash about 10 years ago, maybe even more than that now. He hit the wall at over 300 miles an hour.
Wow.
And since that time, they have taken Top Fuel and they have created a reality where the car automatically shuts down after 1,000 feet. It's done with a radio control or some kind of a signaling system so that these drivers, if something happens, they're not required to have to try and shut the car down. The car will shut itself down. That's autographed Doug Coletta drag slick right there. So anyway, let me show you these 15Ws and show how compared to these regular 15.
Dave knows the stuff here.
I don't know about stuff, but I know a little bit.
He knows a little bit,
I know a little
something.
bit how to not get in trouble. So anyway, that's a 15W.
Oh, wow.
That's the street tire that I was talking about that I'm going to be using. And these are the tires that you would use at the racetrack if you were going to...
Okay.
You see the difference in what's going on here?
How come these are so rounded, you know?
Well, they're rounded because they're inflated. Here's a brand new pair that have never been on a car. That's how they come, brand new.
How much do those cost?
I think these are about $1.25 a piece right now, 125 a piece right now. I think I had these on a set of wheels maybe for like 3 days and I took them off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think those wheels in there, I took them off because these are not a safe tire to be on the street with. If you look at these tires, it'll tell you. Right here it says designed for drag racing only, not for highway use. Which means if you get a little bit of slip on the road for salt, whatever, and you've got this tire on there, you might as well forget about stopping. You're just going to slide.
Really?
So if you're going to the racetrack, this is what you want. But if you're going on the street, then you want that other tire that you were looking at that's on the car right now. Because I drove that car on the street today. I was going to take the slicks off and put these on it, but I decided not to because I'm going to the racetrack tonight, or I'm going to try to.
Oh, yeah? So you got the trailer all set?
The trailer's got the other truck in it. I'm just waiting to make sure that I got to get a transmission leak fixed on this. And then I got to do some other tuning. And then once I'm convinced that it'll be all right to drive at the track, then I'll unload that car and put the other that truck, and then I'll put the other truck inside of it.
Wow. Well, good luck, Dave.
Well, thanks, brother.
It's Dave.
The second truck I just built is designed for 8th mile no prep.
Okay.
Meaning that it's designed to only go 1/8 of a mile instead of 1/4 of a mile. Normally we run 1/4 of a mile, which is 1,320 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. And to give you an idea, my white truck goes real high 9s.
All right.
In 1/4 mile.
Okay.
That means it's just a little over 9 seconds in 1/4 of a mile from a dead stop to the very end of the track. Okay. About 132 miles an hour.
All right.
This other truck is going to only be going half the track.
All right.
It's only going to be going to 8th mile, which is 660 feet, I believe.
Okay.
So at 660 feet, my other truck goes 630s.
All right. What does that one do?
Yeah. This one should probably run somewhere in the area of 7.0, 720, 730, something like that, because it doesn't have as much power, and it's not built as well, and it's a heavier truck.
Okay.
And what I mean by heavier, this truck has glass windows, glass windshield. It has door panels and speakers and all that sort of stuff. The other truck has Lexan windows. All the doors are gutted out.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of weight reduction in the other truck, so this is going to be much slower.
customers. Let's go talk to Dave. He's in here. What's up with the race truck?
Oh my God, there was a meltdown. Hey Chuck, come here. Did you see what happened to me a couple of weekends ago? Oh, my truck caught on fire and burned to the ground at the track. Right here, take a look. I spent 4 months putting this together.
Is it cool? All right.
Chuck is the coolest guy around
Introduce
town.
yourself real quick. Introduce yourself. So this is
Chuck Bone, one of Dave's customers.
Yep.
all right.
Great guy.
All right, Dave, show us what happened.
Well, apparently what
wow.
happened here, but what happens is this little line right here in the back from the nitrous fuel side solenoid to the plate, when I hit the nitrous switch, it blew this line off and it sprayed fuel all over the distributor. One little spark and poof, the whole thing went up. Now, the bigger issue is that there's a nitrous line right here, and when it caught on fire, it opened up a hole in that nitrous line and it turned it into a blowtorch.
Ooh.
And that's why you see this. You can see the metal of the rod melted down and melted on top of the spark plug wires. That's how hot and that's how fast that melted. When I get done with my regular shop service, I'm going to pull this thing around.
He's laughing.
Yeah. I'm going to pull it around and start tearing it all apart and see what I've got that what's savable and what's going to have to be replaced. Obviously, the bumper, the whole front grille and light assembly.
Well, Dave, not to make fun of it, man. We could repaint this. This feels pretty good still.
I was going to say, I think we can save the fender, Jake. I'll clean it all down and I'll throw a spray bomb on it and pretend I got a flat tire, it looks like, too.
Oh,
And that was my spare. That was the spare from I pulled inside the shop because the one that was on here burned up. That's why this front wheel doesn't match the rest of the car, because that was one I just put on here to move the car around, but apparently I'm going to have to put some air in it.
Hey, let's see the inside.
Oh, sure, that was a catastrophic failure too, because once the fire got into the wiring system, the wiring shorted out, and it shorted the wires all the way back to the battery in the back.
Oh, so you're breathing plastic.
Oh, it was horrible. The whole inside of the car caught.
Wow.
If you go to the other side, you can see a better view.
Yeah, it does smell like plastic burning in here.
Oh, yeah. You can see where the fire came in through that little hole. This is why it's so important when you're building a hot rod to seal off any holes between the firewall and the inside of the car. Like, you see these cracks down here? I never got a chance to put the steel back in there. That's where I saw the fire, because that hole was not in my peripheral view when I was in the car.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the fire coming down here, because I'm going down the track and the wind was blowing a little bit of fire up through here, and I'm like, uh-oh, I better get this thing over. As soon as I pulled it over, I got out of the car, I walked away from it. I should have walked to the back and turned the nitrous bottle off and turned the switch off, but in my mind was I just wanted to get the hell away from it, and my momentum was moving out and away from it. So that's exactly what I did. I moved out and away from it, and
wow. So how much damage, Dave?
Well, I don't
cost-wise, what do you got into this thing?
I got about $14,000 into this truck.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen yet. I've got to get a detailed list of all the stuff that I'm going to have to buy to replace. I don't know what's salvageable yet, so my insurance guy told me to fundamentally go over it, write an estimate. And the only way I'm going to be able to write an estimate is to take it apart and see what's good and what's not.
Okay.
And then I'll submit to my insurance company and see. I think I had.
Wow, you even had some destruction on the top visor.
Oh yeah.
You're lucky you didn't get hurt.
Yeah. It wasn't fun.
Wow.
Must have been hotter than hell. Huh?
Yeah, and that's why I'm not sure exactly what's going to have survived and what didn't survive. So we will kind of figure that out when.
Oh, your GPS got toasted.
Yeah, probably.
Yep, there it is.
So I need a new GPS.
Hey, did you have any in-camera video?
No.
Okay, we gotta get a GoPro hooked up in here.
Yeah, that's what we got to do for when I get it done.
Yeah.
But tonight I'll start taking it apart and seeing what's salvageable. See
what's going on here.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So thanks for tuning in to the channel. We got Chuck over there, one of Dave's customers.
41 years. This is the first car that's ever burned on me.
41 years.
41 years of working on cars. The first one that ever burned.
So Dave, all right. So we're gonna do a serious interview here. You know, like after a race. So
It wasn't a race though.
I know.
It was a test and tune.
All right. Well, after a test and tune, what are your feelings now that you're looking at? We're talking about.
What are my feelings
Wait,
now?
we're gonna try to get his feelings.
My feelings are hurt. My feelings are hurt because you want to know something? There's nobody to blame for this except just mere chance, and it could happen to anybody. So, you know, like I said, that hose you would never see under pressure under normal circumstances unless the car was going down the track under wide open throttle. And the fact that it blew out is just another fact to prove that Murphy's Law does exist, which means whatever can fail will. And you know, you got to be prepared for this kind of stuff. That's why it's so important to have a firewall that's sealed off from the engine compartment so that you don't get burned up. I took this to a track specifically for testing so that if something like this were to happen, it wouldn't happen on the street where it was exposed to other people. It would be in a controlled environment where the fire department could come and put it out immediately. They were there in 15 seconds, not even 15 seconds. They were there with water hose putting this thing out, and they didn't take an axe to anything. You know, I mean, if the fire department on the street would have showed up, they would have beat this truck into submission, and they would have hauled it away with a turkey truck, man.
Right.
The fact that these guys deal with the thing on a daily basis allowed them to come up, put it out with limited amount of damage. I mean, this is completely, from my perspective, because I'm a car builder and I built it, I can fix this. I'll fix this.
Right. So when they put it out, what did they use? What type of
They
fire?
used water.
They used
pulled
water.
a water hose. They pulled up. They stuck the hose underneath the fender wall over on this side, turned it on, and pointed it up towards the hood. And the hood acted like a deflector shield and just put the whole thing out.
Wow, that was smart.
Them guys knew exactly what they were doing, and they did a great job. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I can't explain it any other way.
All right, before we wrap it up here, give our viewers one final bit of advice.
One final bit of advice: turbos,
Why turbos?
because they don't blow up. No.
They all blow up. They're all grenades, ready to go. You know, once you go, you pull the pin.
Yeah, right. Well, no. The real advice is to anytime. Oh, I was in a controlled environment with a fire suit on, with a helmet, on a track, with people standing by in case something like this happens. And that's exactly why I took it to a test and tune day, so that there was no racing. It was just a day when you can test stuff like this out and make sure, because I was going to probably wind up selling this to one of my friends, and I wouldn't want this to happen to them out on the street anywhere. So that's why you take it to a place that is set up to deal with this kind of stuff. So there you have it. So be prepared, and again, be prepared. And that's the best advice I can tell you, is be prepared.
Well, Dave, thanks for the interview. Sorry about the bummer day.
Yeah.
And thank you, Chuck,
Oh, you're welcome.
for being in the video.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, all right.
thanks a lot for checking it out. And give Dave some warm wishes.
Set me up a GoFundMe page for the Craigslist thriller, because I need some more Craigslist parts.
All right, there you have it. Thanks for watching. All right, man. Let me just get one final. Dave, stand next to your car over there. Take ownership of that thing. And cut.